What's up, guys? Alex, the captain here from the Mac Sports Connection podcast. This week, I'm bringing you two interviews from Mac Media Day 2024 over in Canton, Ohio at the NFL Football Hall of Fame. This week, you're going to hear an interview with head coach of the Kent State Golden Flashes, Kenny Burns, and now officially former voice of the Ohio Bobcats, Russ Eisenstein.
What's up, guys? It's three-time NFL Pro Bowler, all-decade return specialist, Josh Cribbs. I want to welcome you to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, where Alex hosts all things Mac, all things football, all things sports, right here, Mac Sports Connection, baby. The Mid-American Conference best, bringing it only the great Mac to everyone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Mac Sports Connection podcast, part of the Varsity Podcast Network, presented by Learfield. I'm Alex, the captain. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are here at Mac Media Day, which tells us Mac football is right around the corner. My first guest on the show for Media Day, Coach Kenny Burns of the Kent State Golden Flashes.
Awesome,
Coach,
man.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to have you on. Let's just kind of get into it.
Yeah.
Last year, not the year anybody wants, 1-11, but you're turning that into something positive. I've been seeing you wear this hoodie. I think it says 133, 134.
Yeah,
Kind of talk about that.
Yeah, you know what? Last year, we obviously weren't where we want to be. You know, it was an unacceptable year. I think it was also a little bit expected. You know, to when you're building a program, year zero, I call it. You're digging for everything, and when the year ended, you know, we finished 133, last ranked team in the country, and I wanted to embrace it, you know, because I truly believe that you learn from your past to create your future, you know, and you got to embrace your past. So we took that mantra into the off season, not more so to motivate us, but to just remind us that, hey, you know, we've got a lot of growth needed right now, guys, and we got to be 2 feet in and all in, and that's where that kind of started. And our guys took it and ran with it and take pride in it, and I think it's helped us develop.
I think that's a great way to kind of get guys to have those reminders, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's positive motivation, there's negative motivation. This feels like it could be a little bit of both. Like, hey, guys, we don't want to be here, so let's not be here. But also, we know we're so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the big thing. I think it's all positive, honestly. I didn't take a negative swing on it. I told the guys, this is reality. I said, in order to change only happens when you have truthful listening. And we got to be truthful to who we are and what we did last year and how we can be better. Because we all know we're not this. So how do we make it better so this never happens again? And the guys, again, embraced it. I didn't take it as a jab towards them because I was the one who wore it. They didn't wear it.
Right.
It's part of my coaching career, my first season, and I take pride in it. I've been coaching, I think, for 20 years. I think I had 18 winning seasons, you know, so, like, I know what a winner looks like, you know, and I know how to build one. And I think our guys are learning that as well, and you got to show them the way. But the great thing about it is they're all in this year in the Kent grit and trying to accomplish that.
You came in from Minnesota,
Yep.
Obviously, working with PJ Fleck up there. Talk a little bit more about that transition. You know, is this your first head coaching gig at the college level?
Yes.
Okay, so talk about that transition, going from being a staff with PJ Fleck up at Minnesota in the Big Ten. What was that conversation with him and just kind of transitioning to Kent State? Obviously, it seems like it's a great fit. People seem to love you, and I think that's important. Got to love your football coach.
After 1-11, I'm sure. But no, that's a great question. You know, the great thing for me is I've been around, I think, 2 really unique coaches. Craig Bull, we won 3 national championships at North Dakota State, and then he went to Wyoming, and I got to join him there. And he's kind of an old school guy,
Sure.
and discipline and structure, which I love. And then I've been around PJ, who's kind of a modern generational coach who believes in the player experience and making sure they're striving in a really cool environment. And being able to combine both of those, teaching to create my own, has been awesome for me. About year 3 at Minnesota, I went into PJ Fleck. I said, I want to be a head coach. I said, I've been watching you. I've been studying this for a while. I didn't know if I really wanted to go that route or the coordinator route. And he said to him, he says, that's awesome. He goes, the thing you've got to figure out is what kind of team do you want and what's going to be your pillars of your team. And it took me years to figure it out, but I came back to grit, you know, and being able to grow, respond to adversity, keep your integrity as a student athlete, and then do it together for each other. And that's been the biggest transformation is I had that always, but now putting it to action, and now you've got a team, and now you've got to make the pillars actually go and get people to buy into it. And I think that's the biggest learning thing I've learned in this deal is stay the course and just make sure that you keep pushing your pillars and let it all, work together.
Right, and I mean, then obviously bringing that grit. I love Kent grit.
Yeah.
I think it's short, it's sweet, and it's to the point.
Yeah, and I've had a couple opportunities to be head coaches at other places, and it was really unique because I thought Kent grit only worked at a couple places.
Yeah,
and grit did. Sorry, and when I met with Randall Richmond and the president, I said this place is perfect for this. It's a blue collar community. It's a university that's innovative, that likes cultural things, and I thought it was a perfect fit. We got to put some wins with it, obviously, but it's something that I've been so impressed with how the community, the university, have all kind of bought into it and followed it.
So let's talk a little bit. Obviously, now year 2 of the Kent grit era.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. Like I see the chatter online, good, bad, indifferent. As involved as I am in the MAC community, but I can tell you just off of conversations I've had with people who are followers, supporters of Kent State, people are excited. They realized last year was anything would have been. You have to be okay with it because you understand you're rebuilding. You're doing something completely different. A lot of players with a lot of experience coming back this year, both starting and backup duty. Quality transfers, Kai Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, you coached him in Minnesota. You know Kai Thomas pretty well.
When he's playing well, he's pretty good.
So talk about his impact and what are we looking at from he and Gavin Garcia?
Yeah, we did a good job retaining our roster. Yeah. I think that was a big thing. I told the coaches right away. I said, you got to retain the roster, guys. And that's the landscape of college football. Before we recruit anybody else, we had to recruit our guys. And we did a good job there. So there's a lot of experience coming back, obviously. And then we added some transfers that I think are really good players, and they fit. And now that I've been there for a year, I know what we need.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. So when I got into the portal last year, I was just trying to build a roster. Give me anybody and everybody. Come on board.
Yeah.
This year, I went through a year and said, okay, we have deficiencies here, here, and here. I've got to get some people here, here, and here. And Kai Thomas is a guy who obviously answered that. We go back a long way. I recruited him out of high school. He played for me at Minnesota. He was behind an All-American and Muhammad Ibrahim, so Then he goes to Kansas. And then when I get this job, he's like, Coach, can I come back and play for you? I said, sure, Kai. But he's a guy who's very, very talented. He, when I was at Minnesota, I think he rushed for 900 yards as a true freshman. So I know he's got ability. I think he'll fit perfectly in this league. I'm expecting a lot of things for him. I think we'll go as he goes in the run game, him and Gavin both. But he's going to be a great addition for us. I think our fans are going to like what they see in him. Then Gavin Garcia is a year better.
Yeah.
It's the same system for him in the second year of it. And I think Gavin, we've done some things to tweak our offense a little bit to help fit what Gavin does well, which is great. So I think you need a pair and a spare, and I think that's what those two are.
Obviously, you're retaining quite a few pieces offensively, Krishan McCray, Luke Floria, and then Thomas Ulatowski. Yeah. I think that having your stable quarterback, especially with those veterans.
Right.
I mean, what are we expecting? Just kind of briefly with the offense moving forward. I mean, this is going to be a good offense next year.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think so.
It'll be a better offense is how I like to put it. I think that the thing that people don't understand, we're still really young on offense.
Yeah.
I think when this year ends, we'll lose one guy. I think it's Luke's the only guy we're losing on offense if we were able to keep everybody here. So. It's a youthful offense that just has a little bit of experience now, and if we can matriculate and take the next step, we're going to be really solid. But when you look at it, Tommy's a very good quarterback. But the thing I've loved is there's competition there now. And Devin Kirkman has done a great job this summer.
Oh yeah.
And he played well in that Northern Illinois game and almost led us to victory. And he's matured. He didn't participate in the spring because he was going through an injury, but. He was a coach on the field, and to see him mature and get comfortable in the offense, and then to see it show up in the summer as well, I think he's going to really create competition at that quarterback position between him and Tommy. And then Tommy, he's a year better. I think the mother of all learning is reps, and he's gotten reps, and he's done a good job, and you can hear his voice more, which he's become more of a leader. And like I said at the beginning, this is a great competition between these two kids.
Defensively, C.J. West transferring out, huge blow, but. You've got Rocco Nickel. Talk about what you've seen from him this spring. There's a lot of talk and a lot of buzz around Rocco.
Yeah, I've told, I think, everybody here and everybody everywhere that Rocco's, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to have a special year. He's just confident now, and he's coming to his own. And he's a guy that shows you that development matters, how much you invest in someone and let them kind of go through the hard times and then get there. that they can be a pretty good player. And Rocco has had a heck of a spring. He probably was the highlight of the spring. I'm expecting him to come in the fall camp even more confident and do it again. But he's a guy that I think people are going to get to know really quick here in the season because he's all over the ball and he's playing with the veteran next to him, and Caleb Johns.
Yep.
So I think that's good. And then Mason Woods, I tell you what, kid out of Townsend, he was All-American, freshman All-American in Townsend. He's come in and did a terrific job.
Sure.
Yeah, so he's brought us depth at that position as well. So it's a good rotation there. Then you look at our D-line, we've got 3 starters back, and Matt Harmon, Oliver Billick, and Stephen Daly. CJ obviously was a big blow, but we're happy for CJ. CJ's done everything right at Kent State.
Yep.
And when he get an opportunity to better his life, I'm all forward. And we had a great conversation when he left, and he still checks in on me here and there. And that's just the world of college football. We've got to create depth behind it to make it go. And I think we've got some really good young players that'll fill in that role now. And got a couple guys at the portal that'll help us too. So we got some good competition there, which is great. And then you look at the safety position, you got Alex Branch back, who's a phenomenal player.
Big.
And then you got Baca, who's a year better as well. So it's good. I think corners and the one on defense, where we're kind of interested to see who comes out the bunch. There's definitely a talented group, but it's not very experienced. So we'll see how we do with Coach Morgan and the defensive staff of figuring out that position.
Got to get that wagon wheel back, right?
We got to get the wagon wheel back.
Andrew Glass, he's on pace, just kind of looking at everything, to be the all-time leading scorer in Kent State history. Talk about how much he's meant to the program, even just in the year you've had him, now going into year 2 with him. Talk about what he's meant to the program and what other guys look at. Like, hey, that's a staple in our history.
Yeah, and he's a rock star. Glass, he's a rock star. He's been the catalyst of what Kent Grit is about to me. Mm-hmm. He lives it every single day. He's reliable. He's a guy that's a mature player. We call maturity when doing what you have to do is what you want to do. He knows what it takes to be an elite kicker, and he comes and works at it every single day. He's got a voice on our team that everybody listens to, which, to be honest with you, don't see that often in specialists, but that talks about who he is. I'd be shocked if he's not the all-time leading scorer by the time he leaves here. I think he's going to have a long professional career as well. He's got a strong leg. But he's someone that, I'm going to miss when he's gone. Mm-hmm. And I think that every once in a while as a head coach, you get some players that you get close to, connected to, and you hate to see him graduate. He's one of them.
Awesome. Last thing to wrap this up, a couple big non-conference games, Tennessee, Pitt, Penn State. You start the season off at Pitt.
Yeah,
that's a gauntlet right there.
We got one goal, 1-0 in the Pitt championship season,
hey,
one game at a time.
I love that. I love that.
So that's how we're kind of taking it on. But I've told people here today that the cool thing about college football, this is the best time to be in college athletics as a G5 member. Okay, because for the first time, I told our team this year that for the first time in the history of Kent State, anybody who's sat in the chair you're in, there is a clear path for a G5 school to win a national championship, to be a true Cinderella story.
Yeah.
I said, I was at Western Michigan, we went 12-0. We went to the Cotton Bowl. We still couldn't play for a national championship. We couldn't do it. If you go 12-0 here, guys, or 11-1 with our schedule and do something special like that, you're in. Every metric I've seen, you're in.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I mean, I know we got some tough games. I get it. But to just sit in your chair and say, you know what, I can actually compete for a national championship and be like men's basketball, have a Cinderella story. That's a cool thing, man, to be those guys. Because I know there's a lot of guys who sit in that chair before them that would have loved that opportunity, and that's cool. And now in recruiting, to sell that to kids too is big, because that's what we're recruiting for. I got hired because I don't want to, because I've won a lot of BCS games as a G5 member or FCS member.
Right.
And I don't want to run away from that. I want to recruit to that. So we're recruiting at a level where we hopefully can get talented enough players to compete for that, because that's the end-all goal.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think you're so right. It's so much, I don't want to say easier, but it's so important to be able to say, we can compete for a national championship. And you're right. G5, Group of 5 has not been able to do that ever. And you're right. I think that's such a cool thing. And to be in year 1 of that, to have an opportunity to be part of that is pretty cool.
Right.
Coach, any words for the fans at home? Anybody listening? Anything that they need to know about Kent State before we kick this year off?
You know what? I tell you what, just bear with us. We'll be better than we were last year, but it's I would say Rome was a building one day. But the great thing now is there's a good alignment. There's people there that are all as my old boss PJ Fleck will say, all rolling in the same direction. And I'm excited about this football team. I love their energy. I love their enthusiasm about playing football. And we'll see what happens against Pitt.
Awesome. Well, Coach, good luck this year. You guys kick off the season at Pitt, and should be a good one. Looking forward to being out to Dick Stadium this year.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. And go Flashes, Kent Grit.
Thank you. All right, guys, welcome back. We are here at Mac Media Day 2024 here in Canton, Ohio at the NFL Hall of Fame. I'm Alex the Captain from the Mac Sports Connection podcast, brought to you by the Varsity Podcast Network, presented by Learfield. That's a mouthful, Russ.
That's a lot, but that means that a lot of people want to be a part of this, and so therefore you got to give them credit for all that you're doing, and it's pretty cool to see all that you've done and you're doing moving forward, so congratulations on everything. They just know me by my first name, but are you introducing me, or should I introduce myself?
I probably should actually tell people who I'm talking to here. This is why I don't do freeform. This is where you're far better at this than I am.
That's all right.
I'm here with Russ Eisenstein, the voice of the Ohio Bobcats.
Hi.
You're 17?
This would be the 17th year, yeah.
Sweet 17. Doesn't sound as nice as Sweet 16, but...
It's amazing that it's been that long, for sure. But that's what it would be, absolutely.
So, going into year 17, you've seen a lot of changes at Ohio in all the sports. We've seen Tim Albin lead this Ohio Bobcats program the last couple years over there now at Frank Solich Field.
Yeah.
What are we expecting out of Ohio this fall?
Well, to be fair, Ohio probably took on the highest number of losses in the transfer portal. Impactful players that are now not playing there anymore and off somewhere else. There are enough pieces in most aspects of this football team to have a little bit of veteran nature to it. But to be fair, there's a whole lot of unknown going into the season based on all of the guys that were lost in the transfer portal. To be picked fifth in the preseason poll, I think does say a lot considering all those losses, because the top four have more returners than Ohio does.
Sure.
And so that next run there would start with OU and moving on down the line. So 5's a good spot. Tim Albin and this coaching staff built from a 3-win season a couple of years ago to back-to-back 10-win seasons. So they've got the coaching ability, and we'll see if the execution with this unit will lend to a high league finish again.
A lot of question marks. You talked about losing guys to the portal. A lot of question marks offensively and defensively. Who's kind of picking up the mantle as, at least from what you've seen, leader on offense, leader on defense?
Yeah, on the offensive side, you always have to go to the quarterback. And what's curious about Mac Media Day this year, normally you have more quarterbacks here than we have today. I think there are only 4.
Yeah.
And one of them is with us, Parker Navarro, who is a great representative of the program, UCF transferred, Tempe, Arizona native, carries himself really well. Glad he was the bowl-winning quarterback in the Myrtle Beach Bowl this past season. Had to hand it off to Ricky Hunt a lot, who's another one that's coming back, running back from Oklahoma. He had 5 touchdowns in the bowl game. So those would be the guys on the offensive side. That the wide receiving core is very much unknown. Very new, very unknown. And so the guys that are going to get the ball from Parker, we'll find out. And so that's on the offensive side. Also, Parker Titsworth is anchoring the offensive line, the center. And Alan Rudolph and that offensive line group have been coached up pretty well. Yeah. Alan's a really good offensive line coach, and so he has built some good offensive linemen. Defensively, Shea Taylor. On the defensive end, can hit really hard, had a great bowl game. Bradley Weaver came back from the transfer portal too. And guys in the secondary, Jeremiah Wood was here today. You got Roman Perotti back as well. So there are enough pieces there to have a bit of a veteran voice, albeit when you don't have all that many veterans that are on your ball club anymore.
Sure, and I think it's interesting. You talked about it being a testament to what Ohio's done, being picked 5th with all those losses, and I agree with you. This is a program who, despite not winning the MAC in almost 60 years now, they consistently are respected, and I think that's important.
It is, and it says a lot about what Frank Solich did for this program, the timing of it in the league. Getting to the championship game, the number of times that Ohio did, 2006, 2009, 11, and 16, and then 22. So 4 times during my time at Ohio and 5 times all told. If you could have the best team that hasn't won it, it would be Ohio, and that's not a disrespect to those teams. But they all wanted to win that championship, and it hasn't happened yet. It would be amazing if it happened this year, considering the fact that Ohio's been picked higher than this year.
Sure.
But if Ohio were to get it done, it would say a lot about the gelling nature of this team, about what the coaching staff's been able to do with all that they've had to work around with the transfer portal and guys leaving.
Well, and I think, too, you talked about all those teams. They ran into buzzsaws. I mean, the 17 team played Western Michigan in the championship. I mean, they've been the class of the conference sans one team each of those years.
Yeah, so the 22 one, I think, and 2011. 2011, Ohio had a 20-0 lead on Northern Illinois and lost on a field goal at the end of the game. The 22, I went there thinking Ohio's going to win this game.
I thought they were going to win by a couple scores, honestly.
I thought Ohio was going to win. I approached everything about that. Not that I didn't before, but there was that feeling of it's happening. It is going to happen. And there just wasn't enough offense in that game for a very explosive offensive team. Now, a bulk of that offense was done with Curtis Rourke, who was injured for the game. C.J. Harris was in, but he still won the bowl game.
Right.
But that's the one where I thought it's happening, and it not happening. That one probably hurt in a different way than 2011 hurt. 2011 hurt in just the most disastrous, heartbreaking sort of way of losing that big lead. It was also odd for me because that was a Northern Illinois team that hadn't won the MAC before. My parents are there. They're rooting for Ohio too, but they're Northern Illinois people. And so I look down on the field at the end of the game, and I see my mom and dad are down there on the field celebrating a MAC championship. Right. And little Russell would have been just ecstatic, but adult Russell's broadcasting for the Bobcats, and I heard on that day. So that was just wild.
That's wild to think about. You guys being in the same space and vastly different emotions.
The juxtaposition of emotions and what would have been the emotions, you know. So
flip that.
Absolutely.
They'd celebrate, of course, with you,
sure.
But they'd be heartbroken because that was Northern Illinois.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's a pretty wild thing to think about. But I mean, this program is set up for long-term. I don't want to necessarily say success, but I think long-term respect because of all the people you mentioned and all the hard work that's gone into it.
Yeah, I think both are, hand in hand. You are long-term respect and success.
Sure.
And what Tim Albin's been able to do with this program after what Frank Solich did, that's something that you've got to respect. And you've visited with Tim before, and he's as down-to-earth of a guy as you're going to find.
Yes.
And so he's a guy that you can root for. Even if you're a fan of another MAC school, you can look at Tim Albin and be like, well, you know what? He just seems like a really nice guy. He loves football. He's a good coach. All right. I don't mind the Bobcats, which is fine too.
Well, and I think I have to root for the Bobcats this year, being where I'll be doing my grad program.
How about that? And credit to you what you've been able to do here to as we talk about read and react, make things happen, next step sort of stuff. The idea that you had of covering the conference, but then going full bore into the podcast, and now with another position that you have. Has that been announced? Have you announced that on the podcast?
I have publicly announced that.
Yeah, okay.
The Heidelberg.
So you being the prince of the student princes, and working in the grad program and working towards your master's there, and doing that, it's going to be a lot. But it's pretty cool to see what's all blossomed from the start of you doing this.
And your friendship and support has meant the world to me, Russ. It's been an honor having you on now a couple different times.
Yeah.
And just all of your support and everything you've done, I look to you as a bit of a mentor.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's meant the world to me to be able to call upon you.
You probably need a smarter and more successful mentor.
You said it, not me.
But I'm happy to help, and I believe in all the stuff that we do. I say infotainment, the information and entertainment. It bothered me today because we're working with a backup piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Our main, to get into the nuts and bolts of it, the main Comrex unit was broke. Wasn't able to bring that here. Had to work with a backup set of equipment, all that. And so it didn't sound the way that I wanted to, so I was bothered with that today. But we still were able to do the radio show today and do what we needed to do. And it's great to see other people doing stuff too, what you got going on as well. But we inform and entertain and try to make people happy and a little bit smarter in what it is that we do.
Well, I definitely do a lot of pretending on the smarter side, but no, Russ, do you have anything else you want to toss to the fans at home? I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
no, I just think it's important that fans support the local entities here.
Yeah,
I've always thought that message boards are important to have a good, fair, but active message board for all of these schools is a good thing.
Yeah.
It shows that people care. This podcast covering the league, this is the stuff that needs to be supported. Not to say that the stuff that the big boys do is bad. This is just local stuff.
Yeah.
This is a conference type stuff. And so however you're involved in following your team in this conference, I'm all for it. But particularly if you read the local papers, and I don't know how many beat writers are around anymore, but if there are some in the league, find them. Listen to the podcast. Listen to the home radio calls. There are a lot of really good broadcasters in this league, and I'm glad to be able to do what I do. But listen to the home team calls when teams are on TV. That stuff's important. So like when Adam Jackson, Central Michigan are on, I will sync up the broadcast to listen to them and Brock Gutierrez.
I usually listen to the visitors when Adam's on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a way to go. You know, sometimes you wonder how many people are listening to Adam, and so you want to give him another listen. No, I'm kidding. But so many in this room. And you know, Steve Baker is still continuing at Miami.
Yep.
And he's kind of documented his health stuff that he's going through on his Facebook. So we hope the best for him and moving forward. He's all right. He had some back stuff he was dealing with, and he's been very public about that. Todd Walker at BG, Mick Tidrow at Ball State. We could just go down the line.
I think I've shared with you, I grew up listening to Todd Walker.
How about that?
On my drive to school.
Wow.
When he would recap midweek Maction games.
Did you tell him that?
We've talked about this.
Oh, wow.
And
how did he feel about that?
A range of emotions. I think he was excited to, wow, somebody's listening to me, to realize, wow, I've been doing this for a long time.
So the tenured guys, it goes, I think, Robin Hook at Western Michigan, Steve Baker at Miami, Mark Beyer at Toledo, in two different
stints,
swaths.
Yeah.
Then I think it's me.
Wow, look at you.
I think.
Moving up the leaderboard.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the ranking there. And then there are all these young guys.
Those kids.
These guys that don't shave, the Adam Jackson beard he's got going on.
They're too busy with summer baseball, whatever that is.
Yeah, the lug nuts. I love doing minor league ball too. And that's I love doing baseball. And you actually joined me up in Ypsilanti.
That was fun.
That was a Bobcat game at EMU. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent here. I just think it's all important to support people in the league. Hope the best for everybody in the league. And hopefully the MAC can get some non-con wins in football this year and see where this all goes. And maybe, just maybe, this is the year that damn streak since 1968 ends, and maybe the Bobcats can paint the MAC green and white.
Never say never, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Russ, thank you so much. I appreciate you, again, your friendship,
you bet,
your support, and good luck to the Cats this year.
All right. Yeah, good luck to you too. Thank you.
Thank you.